Welcome back. I don't even know what we're watching.
You look at the screen, please.
Commit the tax fraud, evade taxes, or commit fraud. Isn't that both?
Okay, now that I've activated my sleeper agents, we can get into the
I'm here.
actual video. We're going to be looking into sleeper agents and how to create and control your very own,
Whoa.
creating a private army to handle
You
your
guys
affairs whilst you get up to
do it
more
yourself.
important
DIY.
missions.
In high school, I dropped a bunch of acid and watched Tank Green.
First of all, what is a sleeper
Science.
agent? According to Wikipedia, a sleeper agent is a spy or operative who is
What?
placed in a target country or organization not to undertake an immediate mission,
Exousia is
but
French.
instead to act as a potential
No,
asset
I'm
on
joking.
short notice if activated in the future. Now, that's a lot of words, but in short, it's just a person or group of persons that operate covertly for a foreign government. Now, to actually set up
Whoa.
and support a sleeper cell, you're going to need a lot of things. You probably don't have most of these. For example, you don't have access to millions of dollars, don't have any secure communication
Oh,
channels,
my
no
knees.
weapons, no
No
hose, no
weapons. No
hairline, no
hose.
riz. I could go on, but you get my point.
I
That doesn't
guess.
necessarily mean that you cannot have your own spy army, though. It just means that your means of recruitment
Who's on
will
the
just have
list?
to differ from traditional sleeper cells. There are four methods of
We'll be the
recruitment that we'll be
opposite. We'll
looking
be
at
the
in this
awake.
video. And the
What's
first
the opposite
method
of a
that you can
cell?
use to build a sleeper cell is
Awake
through the CIA's
organisms.
tried and true method of
Ayo.
drugging the public
Ayo.
and hoping for the best. I am, of course, talking about the MK Ultra
Ayo.
program, but I'll keep this one short because just about everyone and their grandma has
Ayo.
already made a video on the MK Ultra
Yeah,
experiments.
but how badass is that dropping acid and possibly holding hands with a very nice lady that you're paying money to hold hands with? Oh my
The
god.
main premise of the experiments were to see if they could completely strip a person of their free will and unknowingly be made to perform assassinations or whatever else the CIA would have them get up to. The
Both.
CIA at the end of the program burned most of the documents detailing what
No, they
occurred,
didn't.
but what we do know is that they spent around $90 million, inflation adjusted, on the program and that they targeted institutions and universities,
Is that a
drugging
lot?
anyone that
Inflation?
they could.
Inflation?
The fact that
Adjusted?
they burned most of their findings is leading me to believe that they actually did find something
Hmm.
useful and
Did
buried the
they?
project so that they could throw people off the scent.
What they
Yeah,
burn?
man, we did some investigations and turns out that drug mind control isn't real. Oh, really? Wow, that's
Must kill John
pretty
Lennon.
anticlimactic. Okay, he took the bait. Give him the turbo AIDS mind control virus. Ugh. Libertarianism is a really
Well, it's going in
profound
my
and
head.
well thought out political philosophy.
Nice.
Now, this does sound like it could be useful for those of us who want to create sleeper agents, but it has a pretty
Okay.
big
Okay.
upfront requirement:
I was gonna move it down a little bit so you can see
drugs. A whole lot of drugs.
a
And
whole
I don't
lot.
know if you know this, but let's just say the
Sounds like a good
CIA
time.
knows a lot more about moving, deploying, and covertly drugging just about anyone they
Let me hold
want
the piano.
compared to what you or I are capable of. Not to mention the fact that it could take hundreds of patients before you get one that responds well to the psychoactive substances and actually becomes malleable, so that you're
Oh,
able to use them for whatever purposes that you may need them for.
drugs are bad.
Another thing is that you kind of have to keep feeding them LSD to keep them in their sleeper state, which, if you're trying to keep them covert, could lead to them seeing random delusions and running into oncoming traffic. That, or they turn into another Ted Kaczynski and start sending out presents in the mail. Not very conducive to covert operations
That's
or
gay, bro.
assassinations. In my opinion, this is probably the least effective method to create sleeper agents, as the other three are far more effective.
What does that
But
mean,
then
though?
again, the CIA are keeping pretty stush about the whole thing, so without the whole picture, we may never truly know. The next one is
If they came up to me randomly and was like, "You want to drop acid and hold hands with this lady? We're paying her to hold hands with you." I'm like, "Are you paying her to do more than just hold hands?" And they're like, "No, just hold hands." I'm like, "Fuck." But oh,
a lot more effective, and it involves you starting your own religion. Yes, I know it seems a bit grand, but If you can effectively convince someone that you're the second coming of Jesus, then you can pretty easily get a large group of dedicated
Could
followers that
we
will choose to follow you to the ends of the earth,
start up a
quite
religion, but
literally.
a good one?
There are a few caveats to this though.
Chat.
Firstly, if you are either ugly or rizless, or both, this will never work. Secondly, you kind of need to be slightly insane. Delusions
Oh,
of grandeur really do help when you're trying to convince someone to commit crimes in your name without any pay. And finally,
no, what if
you need to come up
all
with
the
a
pay?
good story that people will believe. Something like you were sent by God to abolish income
Common
tax
sense.
or whatever a thing that
We need to
people
save the
can
world.
easily get behind. I'll give you an
Nice.
example of a pretty successful story of this and how it led to covert operations that
No,
resulted in mass poisonings and attempted murders.
never
Now,
has
here is
been.
Osho. You
Never heard of
probably
this
know
guy.
him because of this
Rolls
one
Royce?
viral video.
Government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.
Yeah, that never gets old.
I thought he was the Rolls
But
Royce
he
guy.
used
Maybe
to
it's
be
the
a
same.
god man and run his own Rajneesh movement. He claims that at 21 years old, he received a revelation from God and got a following by preaching to people in India about spirituality and how everyone else was wrong about religion and how he was correct. He eventually flees India to the US because he
What?
didn't want to pay a $5 million tax bill that
Get
was given to
money
him retroactively.
by the
And
Patels.
yeah, I kinda understand. He then buys this huge ranch property and begins to preach from there. A bunch of other things happen, like him amassing tons of wealth, eventually owning 93 Rolls Royces at one point, but his main Sheila, named Sheila, eventually betrays him and leaves for
Shabba.
Europe because of a disagreement that they had. Osho then immediately knocks on her and confesses that she conspired and was successful in
She did a
intimidating the
terrorism.
townsfolk around the ranch through wiretaps,
She was like a
poisoning, and
government.
actual attempted murder. Anyway, the authorities find out that Osho wasn't
She did
exactly
a
innocent
terrorism.
and may have been involved in those crimes.
Oh.
So they arrested him, charged
She
him,
did
and
a
deported him
terrorism.
back to
He's like,
India. He then continued to preach in India
you
till he
did the
died in the
terrorism.
90s. But the main point from this story is that allegedly, under Osho's command, he managed to covertly poison a whole town, and he probably would have gotten away with it if he wasn't, well, in his own words,
Retarded.
there are a few problems with this method for creating
Ballin.
sleeper agents, though. With that being, it makes you a
Oh my
massive
god. I
target.
give you a
Because being the
McLaren
figurehead of
CIA.
a
You
movement
want a
slash
McLaren?
religion makes it kind of hard to stay in the
I
shadows.
hope my agent's like
Secondly,
a.
you also have a direct chain of command leading to you, and
It's probably some
any
weird
breaks in that
dude though, and I'm
chain
like,
are
I'll
weaknesses
fight
that
you.
can be
Honestly,
exploited.
CIA. Send a cute,
Finally, the odds of you
cute lady.
creating a new religious movement in this
Yeah.
day and age
Have her
is
like my
next to
posts and be
none
like, you
because
do a good job.
people barely
I
follow
like your
their own
hair.
moral
I feel like
codes,
you like my
so
hair.
good luck trying to
I did it for
enforce your
you.
own upon them.
Oh, what?
The third and most successful technique that you can use
I
is
don't like that one.
very similar to the religion technique, although it removes
Cult?
most of the
I like
negatives.
aliens. What's that last one?
Instead of starting your own religion, you can just start your own cult. Now, I can already hear the faint, nasally
I don't
screeching of
like it.
thousands of Redditors collectively in the distance. What's the difference? Well, the technical distinction between the two
Oh,
is
I
that
wasn't expecting
when
that.
you join a cult, they usually have punishments for people who try to leave, as well as being far more secretive. Now, again, how do you start a cult? Well, one way you could do it, now,
This
people
definition is so vague. Like you could be like job. You could be like anything, literally. But you could what?
who try to leave, as well as
A movie. You ever go watch a movie and then 10 minutes in the movie leave? And you're like, no, I paid for the movie. I'm like, what, you can't leave? Really? You don't have free will? Go watch a movie, leave like 5 minutes into it. Yeah, just because you don't like the movie. Go watch a movie you don't want to see and then leave during the movie. They can't control you.
being far more secretive.
Don't tell
Now,
anybody what
again,
you're doing. Just
how do
leave the
you
movie.
start a cult? Well, one way you could do it is by exposing your ideas to a large number of people and then
Vertical
choosing the
gardens
most
powered by
susceptible
nuclear
and devoted
energy,
of
and
the
we're getting the
masses
salt
to be
out of the
members of your
water.
cult.
Takes
For
energy to get
example,
the salt out.
you could start a YouTube channel, build it for a while, and then when the time is right, you can select the more devoted of your subscribers by pulling them to another platform.
I'd be
And
like,
whilst there,
do your
you
own
slowly
thing.
apply for more and more influence to the point
Drink
where
lots of
you can
water,
eventually
eat
take
food
the
that makes you
final
happy,
selection,
and
and that is the
exercise.
basis for the start of your own cult. Or I don't know, something along those lines
That's
could
basically my
possibly work.
advice.
I'm not an expert on this or anything. Notable examples of this technique actually working include the Manson family, the members of which potentially murdered
No, but see,
24
everyone's always so
people,
fucking
but only
weird,
9 were
no?
confirmed.
So it's like, leave me
Charles
alone, do your
Manson was
thing.
an
I
expert
believe
in manipulation. Plus, he had a
God's plan.
suspicious amount of
No,
psychoactive substances at his disposal to be able to help brainwash his
I'm
family
just saying, like,
members
cult, how
into
come there's no
carrying out his
cult that's like
orders.
no
In the
cult?
end,
You know what I'm
the
saying?
helter
That would
skelter or
my
race
cult,
war
no
that he
cult.
tried to
You know
pull
what I'm
off
saying?
never
That's how
worked,
secretive.
and he was eventually
It
arrested
just
and
genuinely
charged with
doesn't
first
exist,
degree
and
murder
you're in.
for a bunch of the murders, as he was seen as the mastermind of the
Helter
attacks.
Skelter.
Now, the Manson family weren't
I
necessarily
love
sleeper
wishing on
agents, but Manson
shooting
did have total
stars.
control over his
No, no,
family
no.
members, and at its peak, there were around 100 people in the family, all whilst looking like a homeless man's version of a homeless man. That being said, having complete control over 100 people and being able to direct them to do whatever you
Yeah, but
want
he had a way
is
with
a lot of
words.
power, and you can achieve a lot of things if you're smart about it, which, unfortunately for Manson, he wasn't. Okay, one, two, three.
Four. That's the last
I don't
one. You
actually
got it.
have a
Oh,
fourth one, but I guess I could
aluminum.
work one on the fly. The fourth best way to create sleeper agents is 5G
Wi-Fi.
waves. That's right. The government is using 5G to melt your pineal gland, which is only possible due to the calcification caused by adding fluoride into the water system. The now lack of pineal gland makes you more likely to conform and be a good little wage slave like the government always wanted you to be. Yeah, that can be number 4. Now that I've gotten the conspiracy part of the video over and the government has stopped watching, now we can get into actual real life examples of sleeper agents that are probably still active to this day.
What?
Former Mossad director Amir Amit created the Sayanim, which is just the Hebrew word for helpers, in the 1960s. The Sayanim, or helper agents of the Mossad, who are willing to break laws to help the Mossad get their targets out of a sense of duty to the State of Israel. To be a Sayanim, you must be 100% ethnically Jewish and
So
a
it's
dual
like,
citizen, which I guess makes it harder for other spy agencies to infiltrate their ranks. These Sayanim then report information or help to
Cabbage
cover the
Man.
tracks of the Mossad. For example, if a Cyanid owned a hotel, they could allow the Mossad agents to stay there without documentation or pay. Now, this all
Okay, dude.
sounds very scary, but there's more.
No.
There were an estimated 16,000 Cyanim in the US and
Chicken bad.
4,000 in the UK, and that
I
was
like
in
your nose.
1998. So by now it could easily be way higher. The Cyanim play vital roles in Mossad operations. For example, when Mordecai Vanunu, an Israeli defector who leaked to the British media that Israel had nuclear weapons, hundreds, if not
We just
thousands,
watched a
of
video about
Cyanim
that.
were tasked with scouring hotels and boardrooms to locate Vanunu, who was in hiding. One of the Cyanim
It was
located
in
him and
'86 though.
honeypotted him into a flight to Rome, where he was subsequently
Honey
drugged,
potted.
kidnapped, and then ferried back to Israel, awaiting trial. Once again, proving that
Isn't that
quite
when?
literally any time a woman shows interest in you or is being forward, it is safe to assume that she is quite literally working for a spy agency and will have you kidnapped.
Oh my!
That's why I put on an Indian accent and tell them that I don't speak English.
I don't
If you
speak
think that this
English.
all sounds a bit sorry. If you think that this all sounds a bit conspiratorial or crazy, Don't take it from me, take it from Rebecca Federman, an analyst at the
BoJack
ADL, who says,
Horseman.
quote, "There is a system of psionim, that's a reality. There are people who help Israeli intelligence assets around the world." But anyways, we're just having fun on this channel, you know.
When you
Sleeper
think of
Cell.
sleeper soldiers, you never bring up Israel or anything. You're like Russian sleep experiment soldiers. Those are two different things. We should watch that. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to, but I like those. No, dude, this has been. We're the awake organisms. Sleeper agents? No, what was it? Sleeper cell. Yeah, but they have sleeper agents, sleeper cells, sleeper. How come we'll do awake organisms? Awake. What's the opposite of a soldier? The awake hippies. No, dude, dirty hippies. Oh wait. Oh wait, dude, what?